for joining us today on Spin Room. I'm Vanessa Broussard. We hope you all had a wonderful 4th of July Independence Day weekend. And at the White House, they are back to work. We're going to start with Kara Castronova live in Washington, D.C. with all the latest happenings to start this Monday. Hi, Kara. What can you tell us?
Hey, Vanessa, how are you doing today? A big day today at the White House. The Prime Minister of Israel is expected to come here in a couple hours and meet with President Trump in a closed press dinner where they will be discussing, according to Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt today, very sensitive things. So that's why it's not open to the press. Generally, when these state visits happen, we'll get to witness the Prime Minister or the President of whichever nation coming down the driveway, greeted by the President at the end of the driveway, and then there's generally a bilateral meeting, but not today. So this is a very highly sensitive, from what the press secretary is saying, dinner for the President to talk to Benjamin Netanyahu regarding a ceasefire, regarding Gaza, and also to discuss the strikes that had happened in Iran. So all of that is on the table tonight for the President. Benjamin Netanyahu will remain here in Washington, D.C. for the next couple of days, meeting with J.D. Vance, members of Congress, and various other groups in his visit. The streets are completely closed off here in D.C. like I've never seen before. You couldn't hear a pin drop when I came to the White House today. I literally felt like I was on a movie set. There's closed off traffic. They're really not letting a lot of people through. It was really eerie because generally it's very bustling around the White House, but today it was completely fenced off for security measures, I'm assuming, because of this visit. So that's what's going on here at the White House today. Carolyn Levitt did a press briefing earlier today. It was a last-minute one that was announced earlier in the day at around 11:30. It wasn't originally on the schedule. Apparently, one of the most important things the administration wants to talk about is to dispute the fake news media and Democrats that are really trying to politicize that flood in Texas. Saying that, this because President Trump defunded the National Weather Service and all of these basically pieces of misinformation that are being put out there. That's absolutely not true. The National Weather Service was not defunded by President Trump, and they did put that information out in a timely manner well in advance of that flood, according to Carolyn Levitt and a lot of reports that are coming out now. So really just wanting to set the record straight, Carolyn Levitt, regarding that flood and the accusations and the politicalization of it by leftist organizations and leftist politicians, which is unfortunate because so many people died, and it's really not the right time right now to do this with politics. Carolyn Levitt also spoke about tariffs, as you know, always a big topic here at this White House with all of those tariff deadlines coming up. Here is Carolyn Levitt speaking specifically about tariffs in Asia at the briefing earlier today.
I have the signed letters that went out to both South Korea and Japan today, and there will be approximately 12 other countries that will receive notifications and letters directly from the President of the United States. And weeks ago, I stood at this podium and I told all of you that the President was going to create tailor-made trade plans for each and every country on this planet, and that's what this administration continues to be focused on. The President will also sign an executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st. So the reciprocal tariff rate, or these new rates that will be provided in this correspondence to these foreign leaders, will be going out the door within the next month, or deals will be made. And those countries continue to negotiate with the United States. We've seen a lot of positive developments in the right direction, but the administration, the President, and his trade team want to cut the best deals for the American people and the American worker. That's what they're focused on. And in the effort of transparency, these letters will continue to be posted to Truth Social. So you can enjoy them yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, obviously another big topic is this visit by Netanyahu, and a lot of journalists with questions regarding what will be discussed at tonight's meeting. Will a ceasefire happen? And Carolyn Levitt was just encouraging journalists not to get ahead of themselves. Obviously, the president needs to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu, and information will come out after that meeting, but she didn't want to anticipate or speculate really on what was going to happen at that meeting tonight. Here is Carolyn Levitt talking about the big priorities, for the most part, on a macro scale for those conversations between President Trump, Netanyahu, and regarding the Middle East.
The utmost priority for the president right now in the Middle East is to end the war in Gaza and to return all of the hostages. Also, as you know, there was a ceasefire proposal that Israel supports that was sent to Hamas, and we hope that they will agree to this proposal. We want to see all of the hostages released. That's on the top of the president's mind, so that will be discussed, as well as the many other positive developments we've seen in the Middle East.
And as always, Vanessa, illegal immigration, a big topic today. And Carolyn Levitt specifically speaking on temporary protected status from various nations being revoked. That was taken advantage of. A lot of those protected statuses granted in 1999, 1998. So over 25 years, a quarter of a century ago, for things like hurricanes. So those will be removed. And here's Caroline Levitt speaking about that at the top of the briefing today.
Well, I won't get ahead of the Department of Homeland Security on additional countries, but as you pointed out, they did end temporary protective status for Nicaraguans and Hondurans in this country because TPS, temporary protective status, is temporary by definition. It is not meant to be a permanent path to residency or citizenship here in the United States of America. It was originally granted to Nicaraguans following a natural disaster in 1999. That doesn't sound very temporary to me. And as well as Hondurans in 1999 after the impact of Hurricane Mitch in 1998. And so this administration is doing what it promised to do. And if individuals from these countries want to come here, they have a legal pathway to do it, but temporary protective status was never meant to be permanent. The previous administration abused this status and this parole program, essentially treating it as such, and we're not going to tolerate that any further.
And Vanessa, also obviously an elephant in the room that a lot of people wanted to get that question regarding the Epstein Files. Really, Pam Bondi is the one who a lot of people are saying have to answer for this. And I think it's really a good illustration of how, a lot of people talk about people that support the president, that are MAGA, or sort of some sort of cult. But I think that just the disagreements over the Epstein Files really illustrates that there's various opinions in MAGA, a lot of disagreement over if there are lies being told by the FBI, for lack of a better way to put it. There was a poll that went out today, and this is all over social media. It's very similar polls by Dr. Simon Godek. That's not the right poll. If you guys could pull that poll up, that was on X, specifically that poll, should Attorney General Pam Bondi be replaced, yes or no? That was MAGA Daily Polls, which is obviously a very big MAGA account. Yes, overwhelming yes, 65% of Americans, or at least people that are MAGA that follow this account, saying that Attorney Pam Bondi should be replaced. Attorney General Pam Bondi should be replaced. So that's overwhelming, obviously. A lot of the comments, I always like to read the comments to know where the president's supporters lie on a certain issue. You'll get the people that say things like, I continue to trust President Trump's decisions. That was by someone named Randy Park. And then there was another person who said, this is Ernesto Socorros, Bondi showed she can't be trusted. Something happened to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. They became part of the swamp. Their credibility is lost. Both of them should be replaced. Americans want real answers and real justice. So again, MAGA really split on this. I think 65% actually leaning, according to this poll, in the direction of Pam Bondi needs to be replaced, frustrated with her performance as Attorney General when it comes to stuff like the 2020 election investigations, the J6 investigations, obviously everything to do with the Epstein Files and the possible, obviously the assassination attempt on President Trump. All of these things were things that I think MAGA really had wanted to be, investigated by Pam Bondi. And while she's doing great work on the border and with other areas, MAGA people continue to be frustrated over these Epstein Files and continuously on social media call for her resignation, Vanessa.
Right, I've been seeing that, Kara, and it's just you just want to believe that there's more. You have his counterpart who's still in prison to this day. If there's nothing to this case and nothing to be shown and no clients, why is she sitting in prison? So it makes you question the DOJ and what they're hiding, and this goes well before and well beyond the Trump years. And so I see it, Kara, as the Trump DOJ is just getting the files that were provided for them. But was there any tampering with the files before it was handed over to the Trump DOJ? We'll never know, and that's how I feel today. Will we ever really know what happened on Epstein Island?
It's a good question, and I agree that we probably won't find out for many years. This might go down in 30 years from now, something like who murdered John Kennedy or what really happened. I guess on 9/11, a lot of people have questions about that. This is something that probably will be classified for a very long time if those documents haven't been destroyed. A lot of people suspect that they were destroyed, like you mentioned, in the prior administration. I know that the Gateway Pundit had tried to get those documents, and there was a mysterious John Doe, literally called himself John Doe, that prevented the Gateway Pundit from getting those files in 2022. So there's just so much going on with that. Why would he want those files to not be released if there wasn't anything damning it, like the lists, the client lists, and all of the things that so many people want access to? If it was a nothing burger, why would somebody that's a John Doe in 2022 fight so hard, according to the Gateway Pundit? And anybody that is interested, go on the Gateway Pundit and read this very fascinating article by Jim Hoft about how the Gateway Pundit has fought for a very long time to get these documents and has received, obviously, walls in front of it. Why would that be the case if there was nothing to hide?
Absolutely. We'll stay on it because I'm with MAGA. There's still a lot unanswered when it comes to what happened with Epstein. Kara, thank you so much for that report.
Thank you, Vanessa. Have a great show.
With more on this now, let's bring in George Papadopoulos with the Global View Show. George, so good to have you here with us. Thanks for being here. Real quick, I want to talk about so many different topics with you today. But first, Epstein, the DOJ closed the case. Initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, hi, Vanessa. It's great to be with you. Look, I think the entire rollout could have been conducted in a much more professional manner, if you want to use that word. I think there's been a lot of little disinformation regarding about exactly what was in these files, who had what information at what specific time, were these files manipulated during the past or other administrations before this, because obviously this has been going on for decades potentially, with people being violated on this island, and this goes back a long time, much more so than even the last administration under Biden. So I think it could have been done a lot better. I think certainly the president or somebody high level like AG Pam Bondi should make an announcement about why this rollout happened the way that it did, because so many people, potentially millions of MAGA voters out there, some on the left, some in the center, are scratching their heads asking, if you had the files on your desk, meaning AG Bondi, where are the files now? Kash Patel, FBI Director Kash Patel, saying that he has evidence that he never killed himself, meaning Epstein never killed himself. There was details that there were never a video. Now we have a video that emerged that really doesn't show anything. So a lot more questions than answers, unfortunately, with the situation. Hopefully this information roll out, because the way it was rolled out, I think people are going to be demanding more transparency. How that transparency comes, it's still yet to be seen. But unfortunately, this was not a good day for the administration.
Right, because it's making us all scratch our heads thinking, are we being lied to? I want to follow up on that later on, just to let our viewers know we're going to continue to follow the Epstein files and push for answers for the American people. But while you're here, George, I want to talk about Elon Musk. What is going on with him, in your opinion? He doesn't get his way. He throws a fit. He just, leaves Trump high and dry, who we thought was this new, fun, loving friendship that America just loved. He doesn't get his way. He turns on Trump, and now he creates his own party over the weekend, the America Party. What are your thoughts on Elon?
Yeah, look, I think Elon Musk did a great job by purchasing X. I don't think President Trump would have been elected if X was not in the hands of Elon Musk. Social media obviously now is a global public square where people have the ability to exchange ideas freely and have different opinions and to collect facts, unlike how it was before, where things were willfully suppressed. We have obviously the infamous New York Post story about the Hunter laptop that was willfully suppressed by social media, by the FBI, by the intelligence agencies, that many would argue tilted the 2020 election, among many other things, to Biden. So by Musk purchasing it, I think it was an incredibly important move in American history, especially for this past election. But I do think he was rushed into MAGA a little too quickly. I think a lot of these tech guys or tech women who weren't necessarily Republicans or even MAGA in the past were rushed into the inner circle a little quickly. I think that's why it was inevitable that there would have been some sort of heads that were going to be bashing a little bit. But look, I think this third party idea is a little nonsensical. It's been tried in the past. It unfortunately helps Democrats overwhelmingly. And what I think that Elon Musk should be focusing on right now is repairing his ties with President Trump, showcasing why he believed in President Trump, why over 75 million Americans believed in President Trump and the MAGA agenda. Reform it, if you will. Ask pertinent questions if you want, but don't try to torpedo what we have accomplished as a collective in this country because you didn't get your own way on the big, beautiful bill. And that's really what it looks like. So hopefully they do mend their ties. I do believe they will. But the president right now is in a position of strength, while Elon Musk really isn't. And it's really deteriorating his image in the eyes of millions.
Right, and he did conduct a poll over the weekend on X, and I have to agree with you, George. He purchased X in a very crucial time during the election where we felt silence on other social media platforms. That's when Truth Social came about. That's when Elon Musk purchased X, and so it gave us a voice without being slapped on the hand because we are conservative. So he did over the weekend conduct a poll where he asked, does America need a third party? And an overwhelming response, majority voted yes, we do. So there's that poll right there. He conducted the poll, and then he came out and announced what he had been hinting at was this formation of a new party. Real quick, George, I want to take us to President Trump was asked about this over the weekend. Here's his response when he was asked about Elon Musk.
Starting a third party.
I think it's ridiculous to start a third party. We have a tremendous success with the Republican Party. The Democrats have lost their way, but it's always been a two-party system. And I think starting a third party just adds to confusion. It really seems to have been developed for two parties. Third parties have never worked. So he can have fun with it, but I think it's ridiculous.
I have to agree with him. It is a bit ridiculous. And I think Elon, like you mentioned, George, is just trying to he jumped into the political game after Butler, July 13th of last year. And so all of a sudden he rides this MAGA coattail and then goes his own way. And I think, you know, maybe he just got a little too big and just thinks that he's more powerful because he has more money. I really don't know, but I'm shocked that he turned out to be this way. But at the same time, a lot of people were warning us that we should be careful of Elon Musk.
Yeah, I think it really has to do with just the tech oligopoly that many people think is taking over so many industries with the power, the money, the control. And Elon Musk, in many ways, was the representative of that tech oligopoly that so many feared, especially with the drive towards AI, middle-class Americans potentially losing their jobs to this kind of stuff. But look, at the end of the day, Elon Musk is a businessman. He has invested hundreds of millions of dollars supporting President Trump and MAGA, and I don't think it's a sunk cost. In fact, I think he's had a tremendous, if you want to look at it through a business lens, return on his investment. He was extremely close to President Trump. He was leading Doge. He found extreme fraud, graft, and corruption within the federal government. Numerous people were purposely for good reason fired. The budget was slashed. He did really good things. So just grow and continue on that, and don't torpedo, not only attempt to torpedo President Trump's agenda, but your own hard work, meaning Elon Musk. So I think this is really a struggle for egos at this point. President Trump has obviously continued on. He has a lot of other things going on, including tariffs, ending the war between Russia and Ukraine, Gaza and Israel, building the wall, repatriating U.S. industries, cutting regulations, exporting U.S. energy once again. This is what's on the president's table. And right now, we can't afford the distraction of Elon Musk. So I think Elon Musk really should come to the table here. Somebody should help mediate this, and this idea of a third party, finance and support America First candidates, because let's not forget, the midterms are right around the corner. If we have people like Elon Musk financing and supporting individuals who are against the president's agenda, then what the president ran on, what he won on, and what he's about to enact on will be hindered. So there's a lot at stake here. It's not simply about a little money or Elon Musk's ego or him not getting what he wanted in the big, beautiful bill. It's really about the future of MAGA. And with the midterms right around the corner, we have to be very cognizant of that.
You're absolutely right. And, I hope somebody brings the two to the table so they can come to an agreement soon. But again, this all stems from the big, beautiful bill, the EV mandates. But I want to talk about, you mentioned the midterms coming up, and the people spoke, George, in 2024. We won the House, the Senate, all swing states. We won the popular vote. And it's important for everyone to get out and vote for America First candidates. But how do you decipher when there were several no votes on the Republican side for the big, beautiful bill? You have a handful that said no to President Trump. To me, they're not listening to their constituents who they represent who voted for this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I mean, we have an election obviously coming up. Not in about 3 years or so. A lot of these people are grandstanding, and it's not the first time that President Trump had a recalcitrant Congress. Let's not forget what happened during his first term. Obviously, with the Mueller insanity and all of that operation that went into thwarting the president's first couple of years, you had Republicans actually use that as an excuse not to enact the MAGA agenda. So now moving forward, you have people like Elon Musk, some of these others who I respect, some I think I have questions about, that are basically saying, oh, that this is going to be more of a spending bill. It's going to create a budget crisis in America, a fiscal crisis. But they're not really looking at what their constituents are thinking. And what their constituency is cutting taxes, cutting regulations, repatriating industries, trillions of dollars in new foreign direct investments, building the wall, building up our military once again so that we don't have our adversaries in our Western hemisphere like China, Iran, Russia, potentially North Korea, making America strong, building it up from within. And when America is strong, the world is much safer. And I think that these congressmen that did vote no or basically abdicating from their responsibilities to their constituents, they're going to be losers in the short term and possibly the long term, because this is what the American people want. This is what the American people expected from President Trump, and nothing could stop this. And I think it's just going to continue growing. We just have to grow the tent of MAGA, bring more individuals into it. And I think with President Trump as commander in chief, he has done that. And that's why he had the resounding victory this past election, not only with the popular vote, but obviously with the electoral vote. And let's just continue this momentum, Vanessa.
Yes, we have to continue it into the midterms. Can't wait for that. Real quick, before we wrap up, you're on X. Love following you there. Let people know how they can follow you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Vanessa.
Let's talk about Elon some more. Elon's platform, yes, on X.
Elon's done great things, so I respect the man, and I think that the president and him will definitely mend ties. You can follow me on X at George Papa 19. I'm very active on there, and anytime, very happy to answer any questions if people send me a message. So thanks so much.
And real quick, George, we have about 30 seconds left, but I want to say that, in our discussion about Elon Musk and what he's done with Twitter and freedom of speech, there are a lot of MAGA people who I've seen over the last 24 hours who are making sure people are following them on Truth Social because they're scared that Elon's going to silence the MAGA movement. So we'll just have to wait and see. I hope that's not the case, but we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out.
I guess we will. And like I said, they're going to mend their ties. They're two big boys. They know what's at stake in America. And they really are the representatives of MAGA in so many ways, and it just doesn't make sense to stop that momentum, create this third party, and not to mend ties. So.
Absolutely. Well, we always enjoy you coming on Lindell TV. George Papadopoulos with the Global View Show. Good to have you, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot, Vanessa. Appreciate it.
And don't go anywhere. We have more Spin Room when we come back.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally.
Today's Bible verse of the day comes from the book of Corinthians, and it says this: "For just as the sufferings of Christ are ours in abundance, so also our comfort is abundant through Christ." And we end the show today offering our condolences to the victims and families of the floodings in Central Texas. The beautiful state of Texas, the Lone Star State, is my home state where I was born and raised, and I've lived my entire life. And it's just hours away. And I knew some of the victims and their families, as a lot of you have too. And we thank the first responders, and again, offer so many prayers. Our hearts are with the victims, always in our hearts and in our memories. And that'll do it for us here on Spin Room. We hope you have a great day. We'll see you right back here tomorrow, same time, same place. In the meantime, His glory is next.
Friends, we all know the truth. Big Pharma and the federal bureaucracy have made a mess of health care in this country, and boy, that's an understatement. President Trump signed an executive order to bring prices down, and that's a great step. But we know that real change takes time. There's one pharmacy that is already stepping up. I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're not waiting. They're taking action now with a summer sale that gives you the power to take control of your health. Right now, through the end of June, you get 20% off site-wide, no insurance required. Did you hear that? 20% off site-wide, no insurance required. They work with licensed doctors in all 50 states, and they ship fast straight to your door. Whether it's ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, antibiotics, emergency kits, or your daily prescriptions, this is a time to stock up. If you believe in medical freedom, if you're tired of waiting for someone else to fix things, do what I do. Take action. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell and use promo code Lindell20, Lindell 20 for 20% off your entire order. That's allfamilypharmacy.com, Lindell. Promo code Lindell20. Let's protect our families, defend our freedom, and make America